When she got to San Francisco and found that August Riordan wasn't there, she decided to kill herself. She took a cab from downtown to the Presidio and walked out on the Golden Gate Bridge. She went past the historical marker placed by the native sons of the Golden West, past the section of the walkway bordered by a chain-link fence, and onto the part where the only barrier between pedestrians and a 250-foot drop was a chest-high railing. At mid-span she stopped to contemplate the lumpy ocean below. Although it was summer, the weather was miserable. Wind shrieked in her ears, and heavy mist coated her face. The oppressive rumble of the traffic behind her, punctuated by tires bumping over the steel joints in the roadway, was nearly as unpleasant. This was not the romantic, graceful end she had imagined. But how long would she retain this final freedom, the freedom to take her own life? Today she was able to walk. Today she was able to move her arms and hands, to interact with the physical world nearly as well as an undamaged person, instead of the quadriplegic that she was. Being able to do that tomorrow or the next day was no longer certain. The experimental technology that had restored her mobility was failing. The winemaker, the man who stole the technology from her husband, murdered him, and sent mercenaries to kill or capture her, was closing in. And now, after months of struggle, she learned that August Riordan, her only living ally, had left San Francisco. She put her hands on the railing, thinking about what it was going to be like when she hit the water. There almost certainly wouldn't be any pain. After all, she had no feeling below her neck. With any luck, she would plunge straight into the water, drown or die from the impact, and be swept out to sea. It wouldn't be so bad. Suddenly, she laughed aloud. She probably would die in the bay, but if she lived, as some few did, she might actually make things worse by severing her spine in a new place, rendering the technology useless. She would be paralyzed again, the thing she feared the most. And there was more. Whether she lived or died, the winemaker very likely would get possession of her body and harvest the last few secrets of the technology. She couldn't let that happen. She stepped back. She had to reframe the decision. Killing herself meant doing it right. A gun to the brain or a razor to the wrist. None of this romantic soaring into the golden afterlife bullshit. And she would have to do it alone, in a place where her body would never be found. Not killing herself meant fighting through the episodes of intermittent paralysis and continuing her search for Riordan. And maybe, just maybe, stopping the winemaker and avenging her dead husband. She trudged back to the Presidio parking lot, where she found the taxi driver who had brought her here munching on a Chinese pork bun. He drove her down the peninsula to the San Francisco airport, and after 2 hours of staring at airplanes taxiing on the runway, she felt a renewed resolution to go forward. Riordan, she had been told, had moved to Palm Springs. It was a long way to travel in her vulnerable state. If she flew, she risked losing her ability to move while surrounded by a plane full of people. That in itself wasn't dangerous, but the hoopla of an onboard medical emergency would draw attention to her, especially if it was reported in the news. She knew from first-hand experience that the winemaker's people were watching for ER patients with sudden, unexplained paralysis. If she rented a car, she risked losing control of it on the freeway. While she knew that could mean death or serious injury, she decided it was better than being captured by the winemaker's thugs. She gave Hertz a credit card and a license with a fake name, and in return received a Lincoln sedan, which she pointed south down Highway 101. Inside her purse, which was lying beside her on the passenger seat, was an electronic device about the size and shape of a pack of cigarettes. Its inventor called it a neuromuscular transceiver,